For generations, the Amazon has been defined by its hostility. This is the Green Desert, a vast, untouched wilderness seemingly impenetrable to large-scale human civilization. Early 16th century explorers chased legends of golden cities through these river basins, only to disappear into the trees. Their failures cemented the idea that any civilization in the Amazon was a ghost story or a fever dream. Modern textbooks reinforced this narrative for decades. Scientists assumed the rainforest's poor soil and harsh climate could only ever support tiny, nomadic tribes living on the margins. This deeply held scientific consensus represented a complete misreading of the human history of one of the largest landmasses on Earth. That consensus broke apart in the Upano Valley and the Llanos de Mojos as researchers began identifying massive, highly organized structures buried deep under the forest floor. The discovery was made possible by LiDAR technology. By firing millions of pulses of light a second from aircraft, archaeologists can digitally strip away the vegetation to map the actual topography hidden beneath the trees. This aerial view shows the reality beneath the leaves: massive geometric grids, defensive moats, and perfectly straight highways extending for miles. These 2,500-year-old interconnected urban networks likely housed up to 100,000 people, a population comparable to Roman-era London. The LiDAR data proved the Amazon was an ancient, densely populated megalopolis disguised as a virgin forest. Building an empire usually requires massive amounts of stone, yet the Amazon basin is largely devoid of limestone or quarries. This lack of hard material appeared to be a permanent barrier to large-scale engineering. However, humans have been adapting to this environment for over 12,000 years, perfecting techniques long before these cities rose. This red ochre panel at Serranía de la Lindosa records early occupations, depicting humans interacting with Ice Age animals. One specific painting in the panel shows an extinct giant ground sloth, its massive claws and scale relative to miniature humans, illustrating this deep history. By the time the Kasarabi and Upano cultures emerged, they had bypassed the need for stone. Instead of building on top of the land, they sculpted the land itself. Engineers moved millions of tons of earth to build massive platforms, drainage canals, and raised causeways, often aligning their urban layouts with the movements of the stars. The lack of stone was not a limitation. These ancient builders turned earth-moving into a sophisticated civilization-scale technology. But infrastructure is useless without food. The Amazon's natural soil is acidic and nutrient-poor, a chemical profile that generally prevents high-yield agriculture. To solve the food crisis, indigenous farmers invented terra preta, or black earth. They manufactured this by mixing poor clay with charcoal, ash, and waste. This circular economy produced a deep, hyper-fertile earth that actually regenerates itself over time, maintaining the nutrients necessary for intensive farming. Terra preta enabled the cultivation of maize, sweet potatoes, and fruit trees at an industrial scale, grooming massive stretches of the rainforest into a highly productive, managed orchard. They engineered a sustainable agricultural engine that permanently increased the region's ability to support human life. If these cities were so massive and successful, why did millions of people vanish? The catalyst was disease. Foreign pathogens brought by Europeans spread rapidly through the highly connected road and river networks that linked these urban centers together. This pandemic wiped out up to 90% of the population long before European explorers ever physically reached the deep interior. Without constant maintenance, the mud brick and wood structures were quickly reclaimed by the rainforest, disappearing under the fast-growing canopy. The empty wilderness encountered by later explorers was a post-apocalyptic landscape, an environment still reeling from the rapid collapse of a multi-million-person society. This discovery forces a reconsideration of how we view the Amazon rainforest today. This sweeping aerial view shows what we once called untouched forest. In reality, much of the Amazon is an ancient garden shaped by centuries of indigenous engineering. Modern urban centers struggle to reconcile high population density with the health of the surrounding environment. The ancient Amazonians achieved this balance, supporting millions of people in dense urban centers while simultaneously increasing local biodiversity and soil fertility. These cities offer a record of environmental management preserved beneath the canopy of the deep past.